Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel, Books Are My Heart. Today I'm excited to share my interview with cozy mystery author, Christin Brecher.
So I was downstairs in the lobby and you're just such a fixture of Malice.
Oh, jeez.
I don't know, where's the camera? I'm going to say,
So this is the official camera.
Keep this part in. You're such a fixture of Malice. And I was like, yeah, I'm going upstairs. I have this, interview with Angela. And they're like, oh,
really?
That's how they reacted. The lobby exploded with excitement.
Oh my God.
And,
who was the...
Well, Olivia Black is who I was sitting with right before I came up, and she wanted me to say
sweetheart.
hi. But pretty much everybody.
I love it. So I'm not doing too many interviews. Like, again, I met you before, so I'm like, okay, she's a nice person.
Right.
I can work up the courage and hit send.
Oh yeah, you can always hit send.
So
You were one of the first people I met ever.
Really?
As an author
Oh.
in a professional setting. I came to Malice. I guess my book had come out right, this one,
yeah.
Candle Maker Mysteries, and you came up to me and you had it's on my website. You had your big map.
It's on your website?
Yes.
I didn't see it.
If my candle's on your bookshelf, your map is on my website.
Because I've been on your website.
No, it is. And I
have to go
signed
check
it.
Oh yeah, you did sign
Yeah.
it. Because we have a photo and I know it's on my Instagram page. So I know I tagged you in a whole bunch of things a while.
And because my brother's a Sherlock Holmes aficionado and
Yeah.
goes through 21B Baker Street, so
I showed you my name tag, right, with the Sherlock, and then we also have the book. But I'm not sure if enough people noticed that one to understand what it was.
Oh, I love it. And have you ever been to 21B Baker Street?
No, so
It's fun.
I want to go. So
You have to.
Let
me interview you.
Well, so again, with my father, I told him, I really want to travel. I want to do a whole bunch of things, but I know you've read Sherlock Holmes. We've talked about it. Would you be interested in doing this with me as a father-daughter event? And he goes, I've already traveled.
Oh.
And so I'm going, you don't even want to go to C221B? And he goes, yeah, I've read about it. And I'm going,
Okay, but then take him. I told you about my brother's
Yes.
book, so maybe that will get him.
well, I was going to say,
A mashup of holiday classic and...
I was trying to like this loving daughter, and he just was not going for it at all.
Okay.
So I was like, if you know somebody who wants to go to England, hello, friend.
Hello. I'll go anytime.
Oh my gosh. I can't believe someone got excited. I'm like, because I'm honored to chat with you.
No, you are the Malice,
Oh my gosh. I was like, I know I'm wearing the foundation. I'm like, but you can probably see the blushing through it.
Well, you should.
Aw.
But the nice thing about Malice, right, is
Yeah.
it really is such...
Oh, and that water's for you, by the way.
Thank you. It's such a community. Right?
Yeah.
I haven't been in 2 years, and I walked in and I just felt like this little,
Yeah.
not to overuse it, but this cozy little, sort of blanket of love
Yeah.
coming around, and you see these faces that you
No.
know and recognize and are always smiling and friendly.
Yeah.
It's nice. And it's nice because it's as much as finding other authors as now finding readers who come back
Yeah.
and getting to know them and sort of knowing what they're reading and what their reading journey looks like. It's
Aw.
just, I think it's very unusual, don't you?
I honestly think Malice is a truly unique event. I've been talking to someone else about this. Again, so my example was Charlene Harris. So I saw her at Book Lovers Con, and they literally had her on a panel where they walked them in through a side door, and they were on a stage, and then they walked them out the same way.
Really?
So they were kind of once or twice removed from the audience.
No.
And then at Malice last year, she was walking the hallway, and I'm like,
100%. Or I was on a panel, they'll heckle you with you because they
Yes.
know, that you forgot to say something, and it's just
she was just
being
like,
with friends.
she just because she saw me looking at her, she's like, "Hi, sweetie." I was going, what other event has your favorite New York Times best-selling authors walking this way? I'm like, "Hi, Donna Andrews." It's okay, I can fangirl at you. Totally normal.
I've decided that we're old enough now that we should just fangirl anyone we want to, and as long as there's a thanks thrown in there.
But it's one of those, even then, you might be thinking, oh, this is so awkward, but then the authors are so gracious, and they're normal, they talk to you like you're a real person, and not oh, you're a fan. No.
But have you heard the rumor about how mystery writers are actually very nice and a little bit more normal because we spend all day, this is the rumor, we spend all day getting out all our aggression about God, I could kill that person, and then we're just done.
You're like, okay, I had this cathartic moment killing off, this person from high school who destroyed my.
I mean, I don't even have the urge to like, actually play that out, but I've heard that other events for different book genres, they're not that nice, the authors to each other.
I've had different experiences. I really have. There was one event for an author where I think it was in DC. It was a very formalized event. I think I waited 2.5 hours to meet her to just get a signature or something, and she decided to like call off the event after people had already been waiting, and I'm like, okay, I'm not buying any more of your books. I'm sorry.
That's
I love you,
a little too diva for the book world. I don't know.
Every so often you have the author where they're just sort of like, okay, hi, you want to have a conversation and be like, I love your books, but they don't respond to you.
Right.
So they don't say, oh, thank you. They just nod and you're like, can I tell you I love this character? Is that intrusive?
And then you get to us and we're just like, let's just hang out here and have some smart food and water and talk about books.
Yeah, it's amazing because that's why, because I went to those events first. So when
I can't believe you stuck with it.
Well, so the romance community, you have a lot more positive interactions than negative interactions, but every so often you'll have the author of so I had the experience of, can you sign my book? Oh, I don't have the pen that I use on me. I'm like, well, I have a Sharpie if you want it, or this pen, or I have blue and black. Oh, no, I don't have my pen. And so, but here people are like, yeah.
Do I have a pen?
And I'm going, but she said no, and I'm like, okay. But when you see someone in the hallway, you're like, yeah, sure, I'll sign your book. Do you want me to sign the poster too?
Right.
I'll sign your arm. It's fine.
I love the poster. I think that's such a great tradition, and I think that's also why so many authors now know you, because we get a kick out of signing that poster. And they're so cute. Do you design them?
So a couple of them I've designed. I was actually going to ask you. So yeah, this is an art print from Etsy.
That's great.
Then we have the markers and stuff. But yeah, it's I have fun where I'm like, oh, let's do something cute so I can frame it or do a giveaway for the book club so it feels just really, I don't know, special and positive.
It absolutely does. And then you have it at home for the year and it's just it's
because that's the other thing too. So again, I am going to ask for the favor of signing my books because I do love you. But there is something also really fun about seeing the signatures because when you put the book on the shelf,
together,
it's there.
It's remember, I remember as a kid if you went to see a show, they give you a playbill.
Yeah.
And standing outside for people to, there was something about having it together. I don't know.
Yeah.
That was just cozy.
No, I think there's something to being able to see and enjoy because even though I'm a reader, I am very visual. So maybe that's also why I love your book covers because I'm like, whoa, they're beautiful.
I wish I had anything to do with that. But Kensington's design team, I feel like they hit it out of the park with both series. They're just so appealing and warm. And I feel like with the Candle Maker Mystery series, it's such a cool collage of so many things that happen within the stories.
So this is one of my favorites for you because it looks like autumn came to life on the cover.
It does, those leaves.
Again, I already adore you in your book. It's everything about you. And then, so I adored you. Then I read the book and I'm going, okay, no wonder, because she's a fabulous author too. Great person, the whole package. And then I'm going, okay, of course we have to read the next book in the series. But when I saw the cover, this is one of those, you can't judge a book by its cover, but you see the cover and you're going, I'm going to read this as soon as I pick this up because the cover is fabulous.
It's so yummy.
And then the title is also amazing.
Well, and I love how they put, so in Nantucket and I guess a lot of New England houses maybe, there's this idea of the quarter boards that they put on houses and stuff with names of houses. So in every book they have the quarter board and then they threw in,
I didn't even realize that's what it was. I just thought it was beautiful.
In Nantucket also, it's has a reputation for being such a preppy town. And so they threw in this kind of Lily Pulitzer vibe,
That went right over my head.
But that's great. It doesn't have to be so overtly.
That's like an inside joke.
It is a little bit, but also I feel like, you kind of know my books because they were so wise to kind of come up with this little logo or branding on each of them that carries through even if the covers change. I think they're just a great design team.
Oh.
And this cover is so wildly different and yet,
you still love it.
Still love it. And this one I love too because it's embossed. felt
So-
like I hit the big league when I...
Your name and the title both have the arrows, and I'm going, that's exceedingly clever.
Did you understand
It
why?
took me a minute. Like, I didn't get it at first. Even like the arrow underneath the T, I just, it takes the design, and you're like, okay, this is an A, and we're like, we're going to give you the A++ now.
100%. But I showed
Would you
it
like to explain?
originally to a couple of people, and they said, I don't understand the arrows. And it's because we're so digitally oriented in photography now. But in the old days, if you had your film and you rolled it in, it had, the little squares, which is where the cogs rolled the film.
Interesting.
And then the
okay.
little arrow was to tell you which way to turn the film when you were loading it. And so I hadn't even thought of that in years myself, and I was writing about a photographer, and I saw it, and I just absolutely loved it. And they kind of carry it so you can figure it out in the film there, but...
So I was interpreting that totally differently, because I was
Totally.
thinking of, okay, so you have different, again, my multiple interpretations, because I'm a literary
But I
person.
feel like they thought of it too.
Yeah, but I didn't think of it that way. I'm thinking, oh, you have digital camera, and there's usually the arrow to like go with the menu, or make sure you have the face and feature. When you go to get your photo done, they'll have the arrows of like, this is where you stand on the X sort of situation.
Right.
Like the arrows point you to like where you're gonna get the best angle and lighting and things. So I was going down a total different
And how about
rabbit hole.
this? It takes place in a city, and on a street you have the lines on the street going up, and there's a lot of uptown, downtown kind of vibe
Yeah.
for the journey.
Because you
that,
also
like-
have it in the skyline.
Right, and she lives down in the West Village, but she's running uptown to, take photos at these fancy events. Should I explain what this book is?
Oh, absolutely. Because I'm also going to throw out there, I'm also incredibly impressed that she goes from, again, the small town, it's a little bit of a different type of cozy, and then she's going, we're going over here, we're in the big city, and we're doing the things.
We're doing the things.
We're doing all of the
We're
things.
doing all of them.
So
in
please tell
300
everybody.
pages, we're going to do all of the things.
All the cozy things.
I tried very hard.
All the cozy New Yorkish things.
Yes, I feel that when I was, when I first had the opportunity to write a cozy series, I started with the Nantucket Candle Maker Mysteries. Ta-da. And that to me was a no-brainer because, first of all, whenever I think of what does your sleuth do,
Yeah.
you want them to have something that gives them a superpower, to give them an edge over anyone else who might be looking into what that murder was, whether it's an investigator or a family that's convinced something wasn't right, whatever it is, like, fine, but, or in my case, both protagonists are women, that they need to have something else that brings it. And so Nantucket, it was a no-brainer to, first of all, set a series on this tiny little island off of the Massachusetts coast. It's actually, I believe, the easternmost point of the United States. It's foggy, it's historic, there are cobblestones. It's also a resort town, so there's this huge local community that's really tight and really fabulous. And then there are people who just come and go. And so you're either a big fish in a small pond in your town, or invisible to those who come and visit you. And that actually in itself, aside from the odd, the job itself, is a bit of a superpower. And it is a very traditional setting, right, for a cozy mystery. She's Stella Wright, who's my candle maker protagonist, is part of a big family. They've been there for generations. She went to school there. She came back there. She's opened a store in a space that was actually her mother's retail space when she was a child. So there's just all that yummy continuity. And then when you think about New York City, you think, well, that's just, the absolute opposite of that. But I actually grew up in New York City, and my parents did, and their parents did. And I think after a while you realize that New York City is really just a web of neighborhoods. And no other place in the world does these webs sort of seamlessly connect.
Yeah.
And I know we all read about just such horrible things that happen in New York, but when you think about the size of the population, the complexity of the issues that face just an individual person, nothing political, just every day.
Yeah.
It's sort of amazing how much of it,
Yeah.
how if you want to look at it in a different way, how much it brings out in people, resilience and generosity and and thoughtfulness. And so I love writing about families. I love writing about friendships that have been, or that are decades old.
Yeah.
Both protagonists have those types of relationships in their lives. And so that's a traditional cozy trope, and I just loved playing with that. And then the counterbalance of then leaving that to go into the city, and yet finding that those different groups those bubbles that she enters, have that same sort of, ecosystem within them, just played out differently. So like, I didn't want to poke fun at any particular group within a New York City. I just wanted to see, play around with the idea of like, that their lens, not to overdo the puns, might be different.
I love the puns.
Into their city, but that they're just, everybody wants that sense of belonging and a connection to where they live.
Yeah. I mean, I also love that it's called a snapshot of NYC Mysteries, or snapshot of NYC Mystery, because again, first of all, snapshot, you gotta love it. But it is NYC, so you're expecting to have some of the city. We're not gonna have the Cleo Coyle, we're gonna be in a subset of New York, because she has to venture out into New York. That's in the title, and if she doesn't, I'm gonna be disappointed as a reader.
And it's so fun to venture around. And I would say that, so Liv Spyers is a mid-20s aspiring events and portrait photographer, and she has been living in Jersey, where she was born and raised, and her career is sort of limping along. And her grandparents, who had bought a townhouse in the 70s, when actually New York City was bankrupt, and the West Village wasn't the West Village that it is today.
Yeah.
And they were able to buy something, and they've been there forever. They run a key shop there, and it's those local businesses that were just very practical. And now the West Village is very posh and has very a lot of designer stores and excellent restaurants, but you still need your key store. And their brownstone may not be glistening like their neighbors, but it's part of the heart of their neighborhood. And so Liv thinks, I've got this edge, I'm gonna be like making it in no time.
Yeah.
And then like everyone in New York City, you get there and you're like, oh my God, this place, it's tough. It's tough to kind of, tough anywhere.
Yeah.
But New York will knock you down if you don't, get up and hustle every day. And there was a question that you asked, which got me going on that.
Oh no, it's just because also you have the millennial sleuther right there. You mentioned her age, but we were talking about New York and how she has to venture out, but also have like that sense of community.
So my thought though with that is that when you go to a new place and you just every one of your senses is just awakened, and especially if it's something you've dreamed about doing.
Yeah.
And so, she is all about like how she sees the world. And so it was really fun that I got to see the city I love through her lens, through her excitement. And so it's a very sort of romantic view of New York in many ways. It's not the dark, gritty streets of New York.
It's also a cozy mystery.
But it is a cozy mystery, and that was a way in which I was able to sort of bring that element of cozy in. And for me, it was, my way of thanking New York for so many things I love about it. And then I will say one other thing I liked about writing Photo Finished is there's a romance in this book that I wanted to play with a little beyond, because like there are oftentimes like there's a love interest on the side, but this one I wanted them to really like be a team. And this guy she meets, who might at first be her enemy, and boy meets girl, he has his own mystery. And so then the way in which those coexist and they help each other out, for me, I like secretly was like, can rom-com and mystery live together within this genre in a sort of really well balanced way? And when the book came out, Kirkus said it had the cutest meet cute in New York for a mystery book review, and I was like, this is so satisfying, because it just proved that you can play with what makes something a cozy and sort of reimagine what it looked like. I'm gonna age myself, because even when I watched them, I was, they were too old for me. But these old movies, The Thin Man with Nick and Nora Charles and their little dog Asta, about like this couple that sort of helps each other out and goads each other on. It was always really fun to me. You know, it wasn't like someone had to be the knight in shining armor to help the damsel.
Yeah.
It was just about, come on, you could do it, you could do it, you could do it. And that was really fun to write.
I love that they said that it had the cutest meet cute. I think that's so sweet because I don't know how spoilery we can get because I do like the meet cute.
It is a cute meet cute.
It's unique, and I think I mentioned before I've lived in the land of romance for a very long time, and it's very hard to create something unique after a certain point when it comes to tropes and themes. But I think you might have done it.
Thank you. I think it's just because those characters sort of, you know, figured it out for me, to be honest.
They get all the credit. It's not that you wrote them and created them and gave them life.
Because to be honest, anyone who's ever tried to write something, you imagine a character, but once you start writing them, they kind of tell you sort of which way to go on occasion, because you mine things about them that, you know, you knew conceptually you wanted, but then when you see it in action, you want to try some, you know, you just want to follow that. So they kind of do take on a life of their own.
That's nice, though, that you stay true to the story instead of, this is the story I wanted to tell, even though it might not quite fit as well as it originally.
Well, unfortunately, I always pick characters who are these very spunky entrepreneurial women.
But that's why we love them.
Right, me too. But they don't cooperate. They don't like stick with the outline. So, you know, you have to just honor that in the writing process.
But that's why we read them.
I'm not as good a puppeteer as one would hope, you know.
Like, wait a second, they're dancing a jig and my hand stopped moving.
Exactly. Those would be my characters, summed up perfectly.
Like, I can tell she's read the books.
Yeah.
They're both you, but yet they're so different. And I love that because you have the different setting, you know, the characters, again, I love having the cozy mystery genre be predominantly female. Yes, the men are welcome, but I love that you have your strong women. And I also appreciate the fact that, yes, there are rom-com elements, but it's not as if all of a sudden her life is totally intertwined with his. She's still her own person. So you struck a balance, which is incredibly hard to do when you want to have people be a sleuthing duo or be a duo working on something, but yet still be unique. Is hard, but you did it.
And I didn't want him to be just like to serve the purpose of feeding her information on something. You know, just I don't want to use them. I don't want to use those guys for my. They have to be part of the story.
Oh, the random. Oh, I'm going to tell you this exact piece of information you needed to get you to this place where you're going to have the big reveal.
I would rather have them like go off the path and mess up completely, you know.
Well, that's more entertaining too.
And honestly, isn't that how we often, you know, roll in life? So.
Well, that's when you have that moment of you read cozy mysteries for the characters. Like, you want to do the whodunit, but once you know the ending of a story, you don't reread the book again because you want to know the ending a second time. You want to reread it because of the characters and the setting.
Characters, you want to spend more time with those people, and maybe redo the puzzle. You know, it's sort of like, how did I not see that piece was part of the edge of the puzzle, and I thought it was the middle, and you know.
Yeah.
It's fun that way. I do like that.
I mean, you also have you have a lot of balls in the air when it comes to these stories where I'm like, she has to keep all these things afloat because, as you might be able to see on the Nantucket one, there is a certain cozy companion. Then you have your crafting, candle making. Then you have the lighthouse community in the background. You have a lot of different pieces, even with the characters themselves, with the family dynamics and the friends. There are a lot of things you have to account for, and that's not even including the mystery itself.
I think it's fun though. I mean, I kind of have cheated because I've set both mysteries, even though they're so different, in places that I really have already imprinted inside my heart. And so I think in a way you can take liberties because you know where they are. You really know what the space around them is. I may not be a candle maker or a photographer, but I know their space. I know, you know, what their worlds might look like. And so I could really get in their heads in that regard.
Because, again, with the details, you even have candles in the window. I love this. But you also have the cozy companion with the crafting and all these other things that you're accounting for. And so I'm going, how do you keep it straight? How do you know what you're going to do with this mystery. Are you a plotter, pantser? I mean, you have intricate mysteries. So I'm going, you can't just go back and throw in, oh, here's this clue, because they make sense. And I was trying to look at the back going, was it this one or that one? Even though they're books, I think of them as an overarching narrative.
That's great. Thank
so
you.
that's why I'm going, which one did it end in? So I'm not going to give spoilers, but I was looking for something in particular. But she definitely has an element where I'm going, oh, this is going to pop up in the next book because this is an ongoing thing.
And this one, I think you were looking at 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Sometimes you write a character,
Mm-hmm.
and it could be because you just need a little inspiration that day, or I don't know why, and something comes up and then you fall in love with that character. So in 15 minutes, there was a barista. Baristas come up a lot in my books.
They need their caffeine to go do their sleuthing.
Yes. And she, and Stella, the candle maker sleuth extraordinaire, befriends the barista in her favorite coffee place, this woman Clemmy. And suddenly Clemmy and Stella are just like
they're soul sisters
and having like the most fun. And I'm like, I can't wait to write more about Clemmy. And then in this in Photo Finished, I remember being one day maybe I had written myself into a wall, or I was working on the part of the book. It starts with a debutante ball at the Pierre Hotel, which is across the street from the Plaza Hotel in New York City. And I was trying to kind of like move the energy of those couple of scenes in the beginning. And I was actually a guest in the last few years at a debutante ball. And I got lost looking for my table for the dinner, which is where you're supposed to sit and plant yourself when these young women come in their gowns and do various things. And I accidentally went on the other side, and then I got stuck because women started coming in, and I didn't know how to get out of it. So the entire time I'm just sitting with this woman who was so fabulous.
Aww.
She was such a matriarchal type lady who probably had been going to these events since she was the girl's age. And so I was just playing around with her, and she ended up being this completely, not a spoiler alert, but Bernie, the character, the female, and has now like a completely wild and wacky backstory. I kept her. She's in the next book, and I adore her. So you never know like where they're going to come from.
I love these types of characters because I feel as if I get to live vicariously with the perfect grandma sort of situation.
She's a hoot.
And I don't mean it in a bad way because I'm going, oh, can you adopt me? Even though I'm a grown woman. Totally fine and normal thing to say. But you want the characters that you want to spend time with like that. And you have such an energy and an aura about it. Like you can tell you love chatting with this woman. And I can tell how much you love Nantucket, you love New York. The fact that you're doing that old writing adage of write what you know, you're writing what you know and what you're passionate about. So I'm kind of curious if there's a trope on the horizon, you're going, oh, I've been wanting to write about XYZ. I got to write this story soon.
I don't have like a plot to share, but I will say that this whole experience of writing the Mystery of Photo Finished, which has a lot of plot points, and it is definitely the challenge is to make it very simple, but it's a little complicated behind the scenes. And that relationship we were talking about with Liv and this guy Harry, I was started to think, is there something that's like a rom venture, and could that be a fun way of combining a lot of things that I'm interested in? Because you're right, I started with something I know, and that was space. And then that gave me the freedom to jump into things, that maybe I didn't know as easily, but it was like a safety net.
But you care about those places.
And I care about them.
It's one of those, I'm like, what other tropes are close to your heart that we can expect to see? Because, I think for you, the passion is so clear. I'm like, what's on the horizon?
My interest in art is something that I really enjoy writing about. And even actually in the Candle Maker series, Stella, actually, I had fun imagining really complicated candles that she might make. She has one of Tinker the cat that she created for Halloween.
That was one of my questions for you because I was gonna ask you to reveal the name of the candle store and how it got its name was one of my follow-up questions because this candle store is not like any other candle store. These candles, I don't know how she makes the mold. I would want to learn. I would also be scared. She's very talented as a crafter and a candle maker. So you clearly must have done research, but there's so much with this candle shop to explore and unpack. I'm going, please tell us.
She's a real artisan, and I think that's what happens when you are passionate about something. I took a class because I am not a candle maker, but when I started writing the series, I took a class in Brooklyn one night with my daughter came with me, and we thought we were like so cool because we were having wine and cheese and making candles with cool people, and I basically learned how to like put a wick in a cup and keep it straight, which once I went home I had a hard time doing. And so, then I have Stella designing all of these crazy candles. But, if you look at, I think it's Cire Trudon, that their candles of the busts of famous,
yes,
Marie
I know what you're
Antoinette.
talking about, yeah.
Right, so I can see that this is possible, that people make very sculptural and artistic candles. And then I started to learn how a lot of that is just in terms of making really good molds for things.
Yeah.
And so, she actually is teaching a class on molds and making a good mold in one of the books.
That's why I'm saying I think another candle shop one that I read was mostly about the different types of, oh, here's the beeswax candle, but she's taking it one step further and taking that candle and adding these different dimensions and components to the candle itself.
Well, the first book, she takes it so far, it turns into the murder weapon.
Yes. Yes,
and that's not a spoiler alert.
But I also will just go and say, I love the fact that you have it be the murder weapon, or you tied the murder weapon to the theme, because it makes sense to me as the reader. I love it when I feel like I'm in on the joke of like, yes, if she's a candle maker, this is the thing that's going to be a part of the mystery itself.
Absolutely.
I think that's so important because if you're in the setting, you need to keep it grounded in that setting, and you do that, and I appreciate that.
And it was fun because like one is about the designs, one was about how the scent of the candles came into play. So there's so many different aspects that you can use to play into what the mystery is. And with in the photography series, it's the fact that Liv has a certain way of looking at the world, and when she's in events, how she takes pictures. She actually then also looks at what's happening behind the pictures, their events. So what was said here, and who was together at that point, and why was someone looking that way? And then she's able to sort of piece together a story that wasn't necessarily the story that any of the guests felt they were being. You create an event, it has a theme, so everyone is enjoying that event for what they're meant to. And she's, able to kind of look in between the cracks of it.
But again, that's so many different moving pieces to keep track of. I'm like, how do you plot this all out to a T where you're going, okay, I have 20 pages and it's all notes? How do you keep track of it? Because between that type of, here's the point of view of the character, oh, I want to make sure I have my rom-com and we have the male lead over here. Oh, we also have the mystery. Like, how do you account for all of this?
I don't know. I used to be really intimidated in all of these panels because that question comes up a lot.
Yeah.
And it would go down the row and everyone would say, well, it's completely outlined the book before I start. I know every chapter, or I know. And then it would get to me and I'd be like, well, I spend it depends on where I'm at in the book about how I approach keeping all the balls in the air. So in the beginning, I freak myself and all my friends out because I'll be like, I should be writing, but really I'm imagining the whole story in my head. And then is the drafting, and that is like all really difficult for me because I am keeping all the balls in the air.
Yeah.
And then the editing part, which a lot of people don't like, I love. Because these mysteries are puzzles, and so you're just like combing through all of the threads and lining them up and making sure that they intersect where you want them to and lay nicely when you don't need parallel, when you don't need them to. So now I've kind of said, like, I
think instead of saying I outline is I set goalposts up for myself.
Mhm.
So I know what the story will look like, and then I kind of, as I do in life, like break it down to baby steps. And,
Yeah.
just like want to hit that post and hit that post.
Because that makes sense. Because I think I actually heard you on one of the panels before. Because I think my question kind of goes back to, do you try and ground it first with the character of, oh, I want to make sure I hit that rom-com. So those would be your sort of posts of, I want to have a moment where she's focusing on the camera and we have this like this opportunity of representing her characterization. Is that ever the note itself?
Yes, I would say
Okay.
so. I think all of those things count as
Mhm.
different posts that you have to hit, right? At
Yeah.
certain points. And also the calm word is terrifying, the comedy word, because I don't think any character like should ever know that they're funny.
Yeah.
They're just living their story, and I think it's like the circumstances or the setting
Mhm.
that might bring out something that's amusing. But as an author, I think we're also just trying to figure out when to let that part shine. If there's been a tense scene, maybe you need to lighten up the moment.
Yeah.
So, you really kind of pick your battles.
Yeah.
You can't just sort of indulge from start to finish.
I love how you're letting the characters and everything speak for themselves. Of, oh, we're not funny in this moment. We might be funny in
It
this
might
scene.
be funny later because, yeah, there's a scene where Liv's on a fire escape and she has heels on and she's just like, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, heel toe. And I thought, because we've all had that moment, maybe you're on a grate on a sidewalk or walking up steps and you're just like heel toe, heel toe, heel toe, because the scene itself was like heading to something a little dark, but it just made sense a little bit. So I guess that would be an example of one where I didn't try and make it funny, but like
It probably reads that
I
way.
think it's relatable.
Yeah, which I usually chant, don't fall, don't fall, don't fall. Whereas yours is actually helpful advice.
Yeah, right. She really is gonna fall
Well,
to her death.
I'm so blown away and I'm so happy that this book is doing as well as it is, because I feel as if people are finding you and then they might be going back to another series.
That's wonderful. Yeah, Photo Finish really stands as like just a traditional mystery. I think it appeals to people who like to read cozies, but also it's really just accessible to just anyone who likes a whodunit. There are cozy elements, there are just urban elements.
Yeah.
So, and that's fun. And I always like writing different generations of characters because one thing to get back to cozy is one of the things I like writing about in writing cozies is that, my mom can read it, I can read it, my 13-year-old niece can read it,
Oh.
my 20, something children can read them. And so you want to have characters that anyone can relate to and stories that are just really fun.
I don't know if this is putting you on the spot or not, but this is your real name, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
Christin Brecher.
Yes.
Hello.
Because sometimes there are pen names when it comes to cozy mysteries, and so you don't have a protective layer if someone.
No, but I always.
But that's why when you say, "Oh, everyone in my family can read it," well, they know your name, so they will definitely find it.
I find actually a friend of mine convinced me. She was like, "Look, who knows if anyone's going to ever buy these books? So if they're going, it'll be your friends. So put your real name down so that we know how to find it." So thank you, Gail. And then I felt really lucky with Kensington allowing me to use my name on this book because it is a different.
Yeah.
I mean, same in spirit, but a different kind of marketing approach. So it was really nice of them, and I think they.
Well, Kensington's wonderful.
Yeah, they took a risk, and it was nice of them.
Kensington, it's one of those. I tip my hat to you.
Yeah.
They do a fabulous job. I'm going to say, for a publisher, you must feel very fortunate to be with them.
Fortunate. Oh my gosh! And just their covers and Larissa Ackerman, who does their publicity, is phenomenal. If anyone who might be watching this has ever followed Kensington's marketing, they have these cozy cons, these mini cozy cons, about 4 times a year all over the country. And Larissa and her team, they organize trivia games and giveaways and author meet and greets and book signing, and it all happens in the span of like 4 hours, and it's a ball.
So I was talking to her the other day because her son is relatively young,
Adorable.
and I'm going, how does she function as a mom, as this
No.
as this marketing
Because her baby
genius?
is awesome.
I'm blown away by her. Again, I'm going, you're Superwoman. If you need a cup of coffee,
She's
just let me know.
Superwoman, yeah. She is.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with Kensington, because even they're branding it Kensington Cozies now.
Right.
So they're really pushing the cozy genre and
Absolutely.
making sure.
And the publishing industry is really crazy right now. And so it's a little, I can imagine hard to, pick your battles, right? And so it's just great as an author, a cozy author, a mystery author, to be working with a publisher who just put their stake in the ground on cozies because they're really fun. And especially in this world in which we are now, you just feels good to follow a character who's relatable and just like an everyday Joe, but jumps into the unknown bravely and has the courage to kind of like say, well, wait, something isn't wrong in my little world, and I think I can figure out why, and I'm gonna just trust that I can, while keeping your love life, your job, your family, your friends all juggled as well. So
Again, all the balls in the air.
all the balls in the air, and that's like what we do, though, right?
As people.
Yeah.
That's why I think the multidimensional components that you create are so relatable, but they're also inspiring. Like, hey, it's possible. You can do things.
I don't know though. Like if we actually stumbled on a murder,
I mean, I'm not saying I would solve the murder, but you can open your own candle
Yes.
store, be the female entrepreneur.
get out of your comfort zone.
So I mean, I think in that regard, it's one of those. We might not necessarily have superpowers from our radioactive spider bite, but we're still capable of things.
Yeah, definitely. And we are.
I will ask what is on the horizon book-wise for your candle series?
If I told you I'd have to kill you, I don't know. I'm not sure. I know a lot of people are eager to read more of
Yeah.
Stella Wright's adventures. I have 3 full manuscript ideas in my
Oh, wow.
in my head, or jotted down. So I kind of see that there's wonderful things ahead for Stella and this sort of forming group of friends that are taking shape in her life. And then in the Snapshot of New York City Mysteries, I'm really excited to share that the second book in the series, Mugshots of Manhattan, which is book 2, whereas Liv, in her first big break in the business, is thrown into this world of sort of high society in New York that's very foreign to her. In this second book, she is thrown into the world of celebrity. The pop star Bisa sort of takes over New York City because of opening of her first feature film, and she's done the soundtrack for that, and she's doing pop-up concerts around town. It's this whole Bisa mania basically takes hold of New York City, and Liv is invited to be one of the photographers of that event, really gets caught up in the inner workings of what Bisa's, the superstar's life is like, and the murder that unfolds during this special weekend in New York. So that was super fun. And it sort of is funny because I say the world of celebrity, but I actually based a lot of this book in one of the sort of least funky, sparkling parts of the city, which is Roosevelt Island. If you ever saw the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man where the tram is going over the city and he has to decide if he's
his arms are going every
Right.
way, and the suit, and
that exciting scene is really just a tram going over to Roosevelt Island, which is just this little strip of land off of Manhattan. But Bisa builds up her mansion, and I just I had a really fun time recreating space that it's hard to find space to recreate in New York City, right?
Yeah.
And so this was just a swath of area of the land, and I kind of found and had a ball playing around with.
Oh, see, now I'm even more excited to read book 2. I'm like, if she's this passionate about it, I know it's going to shine through.
We have helicopter rides and.
So are you already plotting and planning book 3?
Book 3, maybe
book 4?
They're all in here. They're all in here.
You're like, Kensington just needs to give me the green light.
I have the
and-
opening scene of the next one and like planted in my head. I can't wait to put down on paper. Yes.
So, is there ever another series that you're considering crafting or cozy wise? If there's another trope or theme where you're going, I gotta write this at some point in time.
Yeah, it's really hard because I just love telling a story, and so every time I'm telling a story, I'm like, that's a series. This is a series, and I really have to. I've been so caught up in getting 2 books out within a year. That I have all of these ideas and notes sitting in the corner.
I love how like I pre-wrote questions. I'm like, we're just chatting.
We're
You're
just
like the
gonna chat.
easiest interview
We're just
ever.
gonna chat.
Is there something about yourself you want cozy mystery readers to know, or something that they might not know about you or your book series that you would like to tell them?
Well, I'm allergic to cats, so although Tinker is a sidekick who helps actually sometimes with Liv thinking through, or Stella thinking through some of her ideas for solving a crime, I feel as if really Tinker is sort of like a dog in cat form. Because I have dogs and I have known cats before I knew I was allergic to them, who do have that kind of spunky personality mixed into their feline little bodies. So that's a little random tidbit.
Well, I love how you're spending all this time with a cat, but it's fictional. That's how you get away
It's
with it.
literally the only way I get to enjoy a cat. It's so sad.
So I have to ask where cozy mystery readers can find you, learn about upcoming books, how they can stay in the loop. So
Absolutely. First of all, you can buy the books anywhere books are sold. Online, in bookstores. If your independent bookstore isn't selling it, please, have them order it because we want to keep our local indie bookstores going. I'm online. My website is www.christinbrecher.com, and then I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and just recently dove into TikTok at Christin Brecher Books. And I'm having a ball with all of those platforms and getting to know readers and just connecting with the mystery community. Yeah, writing is a very solitary experience, so it's really nice when you have those connections. I'm hoping more mystery readers just join what is Book Talk.
yeah.
Because I think there's just such a natural, organic community of mystery readers and writers that we see here at Malice that there's no reason it shouldn't translate to Book Talk. And the little secret sauce of Book Talk, as far as I know, and I'm still very new to it, is that I discovered all of these genres that I hadn't actually thought I was interested in, science fiction and just some book titles that maybe I'd see, but they would just, fly over my head.
And then you see TikTok and
yeah, it's really fun. Let's hope one day this will be on TikTok.
please add her books to your to be read list.
TBR, and authors so deeply appreciate, this is a shout out for me, but for all authors, if you do like a book, to just tack in a little review or star somewhere, because that does help us, or pre-ordering is good, so, shameless plug.
I was like, hopefully people will do that because it is a free way to support one of your favorite authors. It doesn't cost you a penny to post a review on Amazon or Goodreads. So
The hat is out. Please throw
please throw a couple pennies here.
It's not even a penny, it's a review.
I was gonna say that no pennies needed, right?
Yeah, no